This is a big one that a lot of pet sitters asked for me to cover. This is tough too, but clients who think they're trainers, what do you do? So you found a concern and you're like, okay, I observed this dog's behavior. You're very neutral and saying this is what's going on. And now the client thinks they're a dog trainer and they're like, I can fix this. Or they tell you what to do and say, oh, well, just, give them a leash correction or use this kind of color or shocking or whatever it is. And you're just like, I don't know what to do. What do I do? I'm uncomfortable. This dog needs more help than what you're able to do. How do you handle that? I'll tell you, this is tough for me too. But for some reason, I'm actually pretty good at it. It's weird. Um, I don't know if it's just, I don't know. I don't know why, but I'm pretty good at saying, okay, I hear you. I know what you're doing. Can I just show you a different way? But I don't want to put you in that situation to do that. I want you to be able to protect yourself and to follow your boundaries. But I also want you to know that this is very, 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 very common. And like I said, I'm pretty good at that. I don't know why, but it just so I don't know. Was it a superpower? I don't know. It's not a superpower I want. Ugh. So let's look at it. So clients, I think they're a trainer. So what you don't want to say is, well, that method doesn't work. Okay. I know if someone is shocking the snot out of a dog, you just want to scream this from the rooftop, right? But there's other things that you can say instead of saying it doesn't work. Because the minute you say that, people get defensive. I know that. Because this color doesn't work. But then I'm going to say it back again. I hear some pet sitters tell clients, well, I'm not going to walk this dog on a harness because it teaches them to pull. That's false. That is not true. It's not the collar that's teaching. I mean, it's not the equipment that's teaching the dog to pull. The dog's pulling because you're rewarding it. Okay. Or that flat buckle collar is just going to teach your dog to pull, or that flat collar is not going to work. I see it both ways. So the minute you say that method doesn't work, hackles go up and the communication shuts down. And so it just doesn't work to say that. Also, you shouldn't be doing that. Is another one. Hackles go up. Nobody hears. Okay, and this is you telling the client this. Okay, or you know what? It also could be the client telling you this, right? If they're saying and looking at you, going, "Well," you're like, "Okay, I'm using treats," and they're like, "That doesn't work." Okay, that's like, okay, now how do I handle this? Let's talk about that too. Are they like, you shouldn't be doing that? Or are you arguing to try to correct the client? Or the client trying to correct you, right? This is an uncomfortable situation. And I think the big problem is that it damages the relationship and it puts you in a weird power struggle, right? So the client's coming after you or you're going after the client. It just doesn't work. I've learned that the hard way. Do say, and I think I want you to understand this, is stay neutral and stay in your lane. Take a deep breath and just say, got it. Thanks for explaining what you've been working on. That's it. Okay. Thank you for telling me, that you've been doing this and this is what you're working on and you've been trying to, fix the behavior this way. And, okay, that helps. Getting the conversation to stop where it's not battling back and forth. And also, too, I'll stick to your routine while I'm here. It's because you're comfortable with that. You're like, okay, this work. Instead of saying, you know what, this works for me. I'm sorry, it doesn't work for you, which is what you want to say. You can't. You just say, I'll stick to your routine that you recommended while I'm here, and just leave it at that. Okay. But if someone's like, well, that method doesn't work, depending on the client, if it's very combative client, drop it, let it go. And then, but this is a decision too. That do you want to work? Is this a client that you want to work with? That's like, if you're going to walk my dog, you have to shock him, or you have to walk him on this pinch collar, and you're like, I'm not comfortable with that. That's a decision that you need to make if this is the type of clientele that you want. I will tell you, I don't. If somebody's like, I need to use this pinch collar, I need to use this shock collar, and I'm like, okay, I understand there was a reason at one time. Can I show you something different? I can come from that point, right? But for you to be able to say, hey, can I show you something different? And you're not a trainer, that's tough. But there's also a boundary piece of, do I want to be seen shocking a dog or walking a dog in a pinch collar? Do I think that's ethical? Do I think it's fair? No, I don't care what people see. I don't want to do it to the dog. That's how I feel. And so then maybe that's not your third type of client. And I can go into the whole thing of attracting the clients that you want. I've learned that. Um, Instead of all the compulsion traditional trainer, people that have used that coming at me, I've learned to change things and where I'm getting people that are already encompassing positive reinforcement. It's a whole nother thing. That's a whole business piece. But I want you to have a boundary. If they're like, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't give my dog treats on walks, just ask why, and say, I'm not training your dog. I just want your dog to have a good time. And I want your dog to say, oh, I make good things happen. That's all you have to say. Okay. Well, you're going to make them fat. Okay. Well, can we compromise and maybe see if we can do lower calorie treats, things like that. But I think I'll use some of this stuff for like a live where we're all together and we can talk about that in detail. Don't try to just the whole don't. It don't go down that in that tunnel. Just don't go down that rabbit hole. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Okay. Do say the bottom, stay neutral. It basically stops that conversation. And then you guys can move on instead of how do we end this? It's uncomfortable. Here's the other things. Thanks for walking me through what you've been doing with him. I'll stick to your routine while I'm here so everything stays consistent if you're comfortable with it. If uncomfortable, I'm not comfortable implementing that, but I'm happy to continue care in other ways. Maybe you're like, you know what? I'm not going to shock this dog on a walk, but I will still come and I will let the dog out to go potty and bring him in. Okay. You've got to think about this. This is where we have to have a hard line. And I'm going to tell you, this is where the dog training industry is going. It's time to say, you know what? I'm not going to hurt this soul. It just won't. There's no reason to. I'm not asking you to say, here's all the research papers showing that positive reinforcement, science-based training does work better than compulsion, traditional pain, punishment. But I'm just saying there's going to be a time that no matter what you say, it's not going to change that client, but you have to hold that boundary, right? I know this is a difficult one, but it's happening. Remember, for clients that think they're trainers, liability, why this matters, liability, you don't want to be responsible for training outcomes. What if you shock that dog and the dog turns around and bites you or bites another dog or their behavior gets worse? Okay. Safety. Some methods can escalate behavior. So don't get pulled in. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. I firmly believe punishment it's a slippery slope. It doesn't work. It may help for a bit, but there's so much fallout. But that's a whole nother section. Professionalism, you're hired for care, not to debate or override. I have to remember that one too. I've gotten better. I would say the last 15 years because I started looking for the clients that I want. I didn't have to debate. I've gotten better at it because I don't come in and judge them. I don't use any of the don'ts, but it's just one of those that I have to do what's right for the dog. I just do. Again, I always talk about this. Clients who think they're trainers, now what? Observe, report, refer, repeat. Okay. Remember, pet sitters don't get in trouble for what they don't say. They get in trouble for what they shouldn't have said or done. All right. This was a tough one. Maybe we can talk about this more in a live, what to do. I hope you enjoyed this. I see you in the next video.